What good is health? You can't buy money with it.
Warren Buffett and George Soros are some of the biggest names in finance. They've made billions of dollars for their clients. And yet another figure, a mathematician, is Wall Street's biggest secret. Traditional investing relies on human judgment, interpreting signals like breaking news or company fundamentals. Even the most cutting-edge firms often struggle to match the market's average return. However, a fund has averaged 3 times the market average for almost 30 years. If you had invested only $100 in this fund in 1988, it would have been worth $22 billion! The man behind the fund, Jim Simons, in his story, breaks everything we think we know about investing.
But we don't know how to do it, and we really don't trust anybody else to do it for us.
James Harris Simons was born on April 25, 1938 in Brookline, Massachusetts. An only child, he possessed a curious mind from an early age. His family doctor once advised him to become a physician, insisting that a bright Jewish kid should go into medicine. But young Simons had other ideas. Mathematics captivated him. As he dove deeper into algebra, geometry, and puzzles, his passion became impossible to ignore. Though it was unconventional at the time, Simons harbored a quiet ambition to make a fortune through math. In the 1950s, few believed that mathematics alone could generate wealth, but Simons knew differently. That skepticism only fueled his determination to find a way, someday, to prove the doubters wrong. After finishing high school, Simons entered MIT, where he majored in mathematics. Even among other brilliant students, his talent stood out. Professors recognized his knack for abstract thinking and unorthodox solutions. By the time he earned his bachelor's degree, Simons was on the fast track to becoming a prominent mathematician. Simons didn't just confine himself to academic circles. After earning a PhD in mathematics from the University of California, Berkeley, he taught at MIT and later Harvard, gathering accolades and respect for his groundbreaking work. But a sudden turn of events would draw him into the clandestine world of codebreaking. During the Cold War, the United States government was desperate for brilliant mathematicians to analyze and decipher Soviet communications. Simons joined this elite cryptographic unit. It was here that he refined his gift for spotting hidden patterns in seemingly random strings of numbers. His meticulous approach and relentless curiosity earned him a sterling reputation. Yet this was not the path he had envisioned for himself. His time as a codebreaker was short-lived. Simons's outspokenness against the Vietnam War, he reportedly wrote a letter condemning the conflict, ruffled feathers among government officials. Eventually, his role with the NSA came to an abrupt end. Left in a precarious position, Simons briefly considered a career in investment banking to secure a steady income for his young family. But fate steered him back to academia. At just 30 years old, Jim Simons became chair of the mathematics department at Stony Brook University on Long Island. The institution was young and eager to grow, and Simons had the freedom to build a world-class math department on his own terms. He excelled not just as a brilliant mind, but as a talent scout, recruiting top academics worldwide. During his tenure, Simons co-developed something called the Chern-Simons theory, alongside the renowned mathematician Chern Chern. This theory, which deals with advanced concepts in differential geometry, would later prove pivotal in areas like quantum field theory. Decades after its inception, physicists at Microsoft and other tech giants would cite Chern-Simons theory as crucial in their quest to build stable quantum computers capable of handling advanced artificial intelligence tasks. Yet, even as he soared academically, personal life intruded. Simons had married Barbara at a young age. He was 21, she was 18, and the marriage soon unraveled. She moved to UC Berkeley to finish her PhD in computer science, while Simons remained consumed by his administrative and research responsibilities at Stony Brook. Amid these changes, a restlessness gnawed at him. Simons had long believed that mathematics could unlock riches in ways few had imagined. Now in his late 30s, he sensed it was time to bet on that belief. In 1978, against the advice of many colleagues who felt he was abandoning a glorious academic career, Jim Simons opened a small financial firm initially called Mathematician. His idea was straightforward. Treat financial markets the way he had once treated Soviet codes. Search for patterns hidden in the data. To do this, he needed the best mathematicians and scientists he could find, not the usual Wall Street traders. One could almost picture the operation as a Cold War cryptography unit, but instead of decrypting enemy cables, they were deciphering fluctuations in currencies and commodities. In these early days, Simon steered clear of stocks, focusing on markets perceived as more systematic. Yet the technology of the time was limited. Full automation wasn't feasible. So Monmetrics, soon to be renamed Renaissance Technologies, combined algorithmic signals with human intuition, a mix that sometimes led to disastrous trades. Tellingly, Simons brought in Leonard Baum, a fellow codebreaker, to help design the firm's models. But Baum's instincts often clashed with the data. He held on to positions too long, resulting in steep losses, particularly when the Reagan administration flooded the bond market in 1984. Determined to eliminate human bias from the equation, Simons recognized a stark truth. If Renaissance wanted to succeed, it had to trust the numbers more than subjective judgment. Undeterred by setbacks, Simons launched a new product he called the Medallion Fund, named in honor of the prestigious math prizes that he and his colleagues had earned. The goal? An entirely systematic trading strategy. But in its early stages, Medallion found itself struggling to produce consistent profits. James Axe, another brilliant mathematician from Stony Brook, tried to refine the models by digging into vast historical price data, some of it stretching back to the 1800s. The concept was simple on paper but excruciatingly difficult in practice. If the data is rich enough and the patterns repeat, the machines can make short-term predictions. This approach tested the patience of Renaissance's team, especially Axe, who preferred working alone and eventually started a spin-off operation. Tensions flared, culminating in Axe's departure from Renaissance and the entrance of Elwyn Berlekamp, yet another figure from Simon's code-breaking network. Berlekamp introduced the idea of focusing on shorter and shorter time horizons, 5-minute slices, even 1-minute slices, arguing that frequent small trades, each with a slight statistical edge, could compound to enormous gains. By the late 1980s, the strategy was beginning to take shape. More robust computers allowed them to handle complex modeling in real time. Still, Renaissance's performance was modest compared to other quant funds like D. Shaw, which began dominating stock trading using advanced computing. Just as Renaissance Technologies was gearing up for its next big leap, tackling the equity markets, tragedy struck Jim Simons's personal life. His son Paul, who had faced health challenges since birth, was killed in a bicycle accident on a local road. The driver who hit him was so distressed that she suffered a fatal heart attack just days later. The loss devastated Simons, shaking his already delicate balance between family and work. Stricken by grief, Simons channeled his energies back into Renaissance, determined to realize his long-held dream of conquering the stock market. He recruited 2 computational linguists from IBM, Robert Mercer and Peter Brown, who had pioneered speech-to-text algorithms. Their perspective, treating language as a series of probabilistic events, aligned perfectly with the idea that stock movements could be similarly predicted. Together, they wrote hundreds of thousands of lines of code, a quantum leap from the tens of thousands Renaissance had used before. By dissecting equity data with an algorithmic scalpel, Mercer and Brown unlocked patterns no human could see. When the firm finally pivoted to stocks in the early 1990s, Medallion took off like a rocket. By the early 1990s, Medallion was posting after-fee returns in the realm of 50, 60, even 98% in certain years, a figure that defied conventional wisdom. In 2000, amid the dot-com frenzy, Medallion delivered a 98.5% return after fees. The allure of these outsized gains attracted more capital than the fund could comfortably handle. Eventually, Simons closed Medallion to outside investors, capping its capital to avoid diluting the strategy's profitability. Secrecy at Renaissance became legendary. Employees signed ironclad non-disclosure agreements, preventing them from revealing even the smallest detail about the firm's trading models. Rival hedge funds tried to poach Renaissance quants and replicate the system, yet few could match the depth of Renaissance's data troves or the sophistication of its algorithms. Ironically, as Jim Simons' success soared, he rarely used the typical Wall Street playbook. No direct calls to executives, no reliance on financial television pundits or annual reports. Instead, the machines dictated what to buy or sell, sometimes for reasons not even the quants fully understood. They trusted the math, and it worked. After the devastating loss of his son Paul, Jim Simons found some solace in Renaissance's growing triumphs and in his expanding philanthropic endeavors. Yet fate dealt him another blow. His son Nicholas, inspired to study medicine and eager to volunteer in Nepal, drowned while freediving in Bali. Within just a few years, Simons had experienced the unthinkable twice, losing 2 children. With heartbreak yet again at his doorstep, Simons did as he had done before. He immersed himself in work. In 2007, Renaissance launched the Renaissance Institutional Equities Fund, RIF, targeting large outside investors. When the 2008 financial crisis hit, subprime mortgages triggered chaos across global markets. Many hedge funds crumbled. In a rare instance of human override, Simons and his team decided to pull back from their usual positions and hoard cash. Medallions still netted an astounding 82% return in 2008, a year remembered for bankruptcies, forced mergers, and government bailouts. This success further burnished Renaissance's mystique. Their models weren't just profitable, they seemed to defy gravity, consistently beating the market no matter the economic climate. In 2009, after over 3 decades at Renaissance's helm, Jim Simons stepped down as CEO. He named Peter Brown and Robert Mercer as co-CEOs, trusting them to preserve the firm's data-driven culture. Despite his retirement from day-to-day management, Simons remained the face of Renaissance Technologies, an unassuming billionaire known for his love of mathematics and philanthropy. However, the firm soon found itself in the public spotlight due to Mercer's political involvements. A staunch critic of large government and an ardent supporter of outsider candidates, Mercer made substantial contributions to Donald Trump's 2016 presidential campaign. The resulting publicity created friction with some Renaissance clients who preferred neutrality. In a high-stakes environment, even the perception of political bias could spark controversy. Simons, who had financially supported Hillary Clinton, faced a dilemma. How far should he intervene in the political preferences of a co-CEO? Concern grew when certain institutional clients pulled their funds, uneasy about the firm's association with divisive politics. By late 2017, Mercer stepped down as co-CEO, allowing Renaissance to refocus on what it did best: trading and research. Over the years, Jim Simons has quietly built a reputation not just as a titan of finance, but also as a major philanthropist. He has donated over $500 million to Stony Brook University, transforming it into a leading research institution. He supported autism research, astrophysics, and mathematics education initiatives across the country. One of his most ambitious scientific endeavors is the Simons Observatory, a collection of powerful telescopes designed to detect gravitational waves from the dawn of the universe. In a sense, he is once again code-breaking, but this time probing the greatest cosmic mysteries, seeking the earliest signals that might reveal how everything began. Today, Jim Simons' net worth is estimated at around $25 to $30 billion.